morning for me right now. Um, Originally, I was asleep and then I randomly woke up. It was really random. I don't know why. And like normally, I put my TV on the sleep timer, but I think I must have forgot or whatever. So my TV was just on, and when I woke up, one of Princella's videos was playing. And I guess you could call this like a part two to the last one I did when I was talking about her podcast. But I wanted to keep talking about it because I had to go when I was doing that one. But yeah, I'm watching because I paused it. I might go to sleep after this though. I don't know if I'll finish it tonight, but watching her video, the birth of black male psychosis, and there were just some things that she said, and I just wanted to, I don't know, I just wanted to talk about it. Like I said, it's kind of a follow-up to my last one. So like, one thing she said was that when you start to listen to her, you'll start to get annoyed by other women because you'll understand why they're going through what they're going through. And when you try to tell them stuff, they're not going to want to listen to you. And I talked about in that other video how growing up, a lot of the things that she says, I kind of naturally was feeling or going through or whatever, and everyone made me feel crazy. And that was one of the things. Like, again, I felt like community, especially, with women, like having friends. I felt like that was the more important thing. That was where it was at. And it felt like the things that I said didn't really matter, right? Like I remember I had this one so-called friend back then. And I think I told her she was pretty or whatever. And the blank look she gave me when I told her that, it was like she did not care. Or you know what? It might not have been that. I think, you know what? It wasn't that where she did that. It was another incident. Still male-centered, though, interestingly enough. See, she drew. And at the time, I felt like she was a better artist than me. So I asked her, like I would ask her for art help, which she would never help me, by the way. But I remember, like, there was this time, I think I had asked her to draw me stuff and she just wouldn't do it. But there was this one guy and, she just drew something for him, whatever. I don't even know that he asked her to do it. I think she just did it. And I think I asked her, like, well, why did you just draw something for him? Because I had been asking her and she just wouldn't do it. That was when she gave me that blank look. And at the time, I didn't understand it. But now I get it. It was, well, he's a guy and you're a girl. But now, granted, this friend, so-called friend, looking back on it, I'm pretty sure she was just using me in different ways anyway, in a very male-centric pick-me way, too. Like I think she was in various ways using me to make herself try to look better. That was just a toxic so-called friendship in general. But still, it's just stuff like that. Like, and, honestly, really, her in particular, she, looking back, was like particularly mean to me. And I was no saint back then. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I wasn't trying to be mean, but I was like unintentionally mean because I wasn't socialized the way that I should have been. She was just mean. Like I'm telling you, she knew what she was doing. That's why she thought I knew what I was doing, and she did what she did. But A lot of the things that she did were just so male centric. Now, it was like that for most of my friends. And I know that back then I would comment on certain things. And I think that they thought, based on certain things that I said, I think they thought I was a lesbian, which is ironic because I would say stuff like, I didn't like vagina. I still don't. Um, but I think that they thought that I was coming from the perspective of like, oh, she's so homophobic that she must be, a lesbian herself, which would be ironic considering all of the uh like gay fan fiction and stuff I would write back then, but I'm pretty sure they thought that, which they're still wrong because actually I'm asexual, but I digress, whatever. Um but like I was saying, I just never. Now, back then I considered it me not being interested in seeing romantic relationships. I wasn't a fan of seeing like PDA and stuff like that. And I wasn't a fan of relationships because of the dynamics that they seem to have. But now I realize that it really was just I was dealing with male centric, male identified women who really weren't girls. They weren't. And it also made me realize, now I think I don't know if I uploaded it or just made a video and didn't upload it. I can't remember right now, but um I've been feeling for a while like men and women, right? Both groups. They love men but hate women. And so I've always kind of talked about how I didn't like men or women for different reasons, some of them overlapping, but how I never liked either one of them. And now, that in conjunction with, my past and what I never liked, when I wrap all of this up, it really makes me realize that the issue that I have isn't even really with women in general. It's with male identified women. And I realize now that that has been like 99% of my friendships is with male identified women. And they're the reason why I've never really been able to make these friendships that I want to make. It's not really so much that they, center their relationships per se. It's the way in which they do it. Because I always said, if you have a relationship, that's fine, right? Like I've always been on that. It never really seemed like it was for me to have one, but I was like, if you have a relationship, it's fine, but I don't think you should disregard your friends. And I feel like if you're a girl's girl, if you're not male centric, even if you're in a relationship, you're going to still value your girlfriends. But I don't think that that's something that male identified women do. I think those, the basically pick me girls, are the ones who, once they get a relationship, they're the ones I've always talked about. The ones who they're in a relationship, so now, you don't matter. You can be disregarded. You should understand. And if anything happens, they should be able to run back to you because they're your friend and whatever. And they use you. It's really interesting because, and I haven't heard Princella talk about this. She probably has, but this is just me not hearing her on my own, thoughts and experiences. Because like I said, they seem to overlap, which I think is why I'm gravitating towards her so much, because she's really making sense. It's really lining up. And what I'm finding is, and now I do think she at least kind of said this in a way, but these women, not only do they want a man so badly, but they even act like them to a certain extent. Because I truly believe a lot of times men use women as placeholders. And they do this in a way of like, maybe, they're with a girl, they don't really like her, but they can use her. And then once they get to a level that they want to get to, or they just find the girl that they really want, they leave the girl they're with for the girl that they really wanted. They use her as, they get with a girl knowing that they don't want to take her seriously. They're never going to take her seriously. Even if they knock her out with a bunch of kids, that they're not going to take her seriously, never want to marry her or whatever. And, again, once they find the girl they actually want, they get with her no matter what kind of turmoil or chaos they left that woman in, right? And I think in a way, women do the same thing with their, their friends, though. Still other women. They'll, have these friendships. Now, it's not, any sort of romantic thing like with a guy, situationship, whatever, but they'll have friendships with other women, right? Just to be able to say that they have someone around, but they don't necessarily really value this friendship or this woman. So as soon as they get what they really want, which is a man, they will leave their friend in the dust. But still, if they want to use them again, expect them to be there ready to come back to them, because they're using their girlfriends for resources the same way that men do it. Now, I still think that just like women, men really want other men, just like women want men, but I'm not going to touch that right now. Again, I'm not going to touch it. I'm not. But, I just, that is what I have recently found, and it has really opened my eyes. And it also has made me realize why it's so hard for me to make friends, because so many women, I think, are indoctrinated with this patriarchal, male identifying, male centric thinking, that it's hard to find other women who aren't on that. I mean, the sad part is that, that became me last year as a result of my friends being so male centric, that I was like, I am not going to get the appreciation and value out of them that I feel like I should be getting. And since they seem to indicate that a man is who you get it from, I guess I'm going to have to try to get it from a man. I didn't want to. I never had wanted to, but I felt like I was being pushed to that because of just these crappy friendships that had always been so crappy. But now my eyes are open, because now I finally see why they were so crappy. And I understand too why, because, Princella, one of the things she says, she doesn't help those who don't want to be helped. She doesn't help those who want to be slaves or concubines. And while I don't know that I would necessarily use the same language for my situation, but that's essentially what was happening with me, in the sense that I would try to talk to him. I would try to say like, hey, in different ways, I try to say like, value your friendships more, like value me more. But you can't force people to do anything, right? And you can't make people do what you want them to do. They have to want it. And, they didn't want it. They didn't want to, they said, oh, I love you, as a friend. I love you. I care. I know you don't think that I do, but I do. You listen. No, you don't. Okay. Now, I haven't read her book, The 5 Components of Love, so I don't know what she considers to be the 5 components of love. But what I do know is this. And since, how I feel tends to overlap with things that she says, I feel like I'm probably onto something here when I say that I feel like love is one of those things, because not everyone experiences it. And I think there are different types and different forms. Although I have heard her say that there's just one love. But I think there's different types of love. Just depends on how you categorize it. So maybe it's just a difference in linguistics. But anyway, I think you can feel when someone loves you, you know, even if they don't say it or whatever. I think that you can just kind of tell through either the things that they do, the things they say, hopefully a combination of both, but like you can tell, I feel like you can feel it. And despite everything that they said, I didn't feel it from them. I didn't feel it. And they probably don't know what love is themselves, because that would explain, honestly, the situations that they are in, even. I mean, then again, maybe they're not. I don't talk to them no more, but they probably are. Because after over 10 years, they never change. So it is what it is, right? I don't, you know, when when you've known someone for over 10 years and you see that they stay in the same spot, and, you know, while I don't have no romantic relationship where I got all these years that I done put in of trying to help, trying to be there, getting better, but not, you know, the other person not getting better and improving and them not it sounds a lot to me like what people be going through in romantic relationships. And I feel like I experienced one without experiencing one, and it still sucked. I think I prefer my way of doing it, though, because at least I ain't have to worry about no STDs or nothing like that. But, you know, it's just when you're bettering yourself and this person is stagnant, and you can tell they don't want to better themselves. They don't really want to help themselves. They're not open to anything you have to say, because what you have to say, really, they have no value for it. They don't want your help. They don't seem to want help, period, but they definitely don't want your help. And when they don't want your help, what I've learned, you don't waste your time trying to help them. You say, okay, you live your life, whatever. You're miserable. You know you're miserable. But if you don't want to help yourself, then I'm going to let you sink. I don't care no more. Because when I was younger, you know, I used to be more controlling. I can admit that. And I really tried to force a lot of things. And, you know, but back then I looked at it as why I care about them. And so I feel like they're living their lives in a way that isn't good. And since I care or whatever, and I feel like I know what's good, I'm going to tell them what is good, and, you know, they should do it. But they felt controlled. You know, they didn't like it. Now, did they tell me this? No, because they had no communication. And despite me saying, hey, if you have any issues, just tell me, they didn't do it. They didn't do it, right? So, you know, a lot of lessons that I've learned, I've had to learn on my own. I've had to do a lot of self-growth. I feel like that's another thing that I kind of have in common with Princella. I mean, I haven't gone through nearly as much as her, based on the story that she's told. But I have done a lot of introspection, like a lot. And all of my self-help, like mentally, I mean, even physically, but, you know, especially just my growth as a person has all been a result of me. It was not the result of going to counseling or anything. And, you know, I've tried that. I try it and it usually doesn't work out. But it's always had to be me doing introspection because, you know, people, they don't like to be honest. They don't, which is funny because if more people were honest, I think I have talked about this before in another video, but if more people were honest, then there could be more positive change, because a lot of times if you don't know what needs to be fixed, you can't fix it. So people wouldn't tell me their issues. So I didn't know how to fix issues that I didn't know were issues. But by doing a lot of introspection, I think I fixed a lot of things. And I'm at a point where, you know, if there's something at this point that you don't like about me, then you're probably just going to have to not like it. Because there's not too much more that I really want to change, I don't think. So it kind of just is what it is, in a sense. Um, but yeah, like, I've just had to learn. I've just had to better myself in a lot of ways. And it's hard when you're doing it on your own, but it really it really provides growth. But when other people don't want to do that, you know, I mean, and part of me doing that was me learning, people don't want to be controlled. And so that's why I'm very big on you live your life, you do your thing, and any sort of consequences that come from your actions are your own. You're not going to blame me for anything. Whatever you decide to do, that is on you. I will not be made a victim of your choices. So I don't care. You can do what you want. If you ask me for my opinion, I'll give it. Or if I say, do you want my opinion? I'll give it. But whether you take it or don't take it, your choice is your responsibility. It's not on me. I'm not taking that. And I know some people may say that that makes me a bad friend, but I tried it the other way and no one liked that. So, this is the path of least resistance, and people need to be able to take self-responsibility. And so, if these people want to ruin their own lives, continue to be unhappy in the way that they are, then hey, be my guest. Because the thing is, even if I'm unhappy, I don't have the luxury of having this person who's like, hey, I see you're unhappy. Is there anything that I can do to try to make it better for you? No. Now, I was that for them. They weren't that for me. They weren't there for me. They didn't care really all that much if I was upset because, well, I was upset all the time. So they were like desensitized to it, I guess, or they just didn't care. It is what it is. But I have to go again. So there we go.